tonight when the sun sets, you're gonna flip a switch. Light will fill the room and you probably won't even think about it. But for most of human history, that switch simply didn't exist. Once the sun went down, the world became completely dark. You couldn't even see your own hand in front of your face. But modern humans almost never experienced this. For more than 300,000 years, every one of your ancestors spent nearly half their life surrounded by almost total darkness. They didn't even have candles for most of that time, just the night sky, the stars, and whatever fire they were able to keep alive. So what did they actually do during all those hours? The answer changes everything we think we know about sleep, storytelling, and what it truly means to be human. Let's start with fire, because fire is what made any of this possible. The earliest strong evidence of humans controlling fire comes from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa around 1 million years ago. But fire didn't only keep people warm. Fire completely transformed the human day. Before fire, our ancestors lived like every other primate. Once the sun disappeared, you climbed a tree or found a sheltered place and stayed still. Moving around at night meant becoming prey. Our eyes are terrible in darkness compared to the predators hunting us. Leopards, hyenas, wolves, all of them could see perfectly well. Fire changed that reality overnight. A campfire creates a circle of safety roughly 30 feet across. Inside that circle, predators stay away. Outside that circle, you die. That isn't an exaggeration. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer groups discovered that people who wander away from the fire at night are far more likely to be killed by predators, even today. But here's the fascinating part. Fire didn't just protect humans during the night, it gave them something they'd never had before: extra hours. Think about it. Before fire, the useful part of the day ended at sunset, maybe 12 hours during summer, and as little as 8 during winter. Fire suddenly added 2 to 4 usable hours to every single day. And across thousands of generations, those extra hours reshaped our species. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner published a study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. She spent years recording conversations among the Jiahu Huansi Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last groups on Earth still living close to the original human lifestyle. What she found was remarkable. During the day, around 80% of conversations were practical. Who's hunting where? Which plants are ready? Complaints, logistics, economic negotiations. Daytime conversation was about work. But at night, around the fire, the entire nature of conversation changed. 81% of conversations became stories, tales of distant places, adventures, myths about the origins of the world, jokes that made the whole camp laugh. Wiesner argued that conversations around firelight are where human culture was born. The campfire became the original theater, the original classroom, the original church. It's where humans learn to think beyond the present moment and imagine things that didn't exist yet. It's where we became human. But the night wasn't only about stories around the fire. Something else was happening too. Something scientists only rediscovered during the last 30 years. You were never designed to sleep the way you sleep right now. In 2001, historian Roger E. Ekirch published a paper that changed sleep science. He spent 16 years digging through historical records and found something nobody expected. More than 500 references spanning centuries, prayer books from the 1400s, court records, diaries, medical texts, letters from ordinary people, even passages from Homer's Odyssey. All of them mention the same thing: first sleep and second sleep. Before the industrial age, people didn't sleep in one continuous block. They went to bed shortly after sunset, slept for around 4 hours, then woke up. They stayed awake for 1 to 2 hours in the middle of the night, then they went back to sleep for another 4 hours until dawn. This wasn't insomnia. This was normal. This is how humans slept for thousands of years. And what did people do during that quiet period in the middle of the night? Everything. A 16th century French physician recommended that couples conceive children during this period because they would do it better. People visited neighbors. They interpreted dreams while they were still fresh. They wrote. Sometimes they simply stayed awake in bed, lying in darkness and thinking. A doctor's manual from the 1500s advised patients that the best time to study and reflect was during what they called the watch, the quiet hours between first and second sleep, when the mind was calm and the world was still. For centuries, historians kept reading these references, but translated first sleep as something else because they couldn't imagine humans ever sleeping differently than we do today. That assumption became so deep, translators literally mistranslated ancient Greek and medieval Latin just to make it fit modern life. But science eventually confirmed what history had been saying all along. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Wehr at the National Institute of Mental Health ran an experiment. He took a group of volunteers and removed all artificial light from their lives. For 1 month, they experienced 14 hours of darkness every night, just like our ancestors before fire extended the evening. Within weeks, every participant settled into the exact same pattern: 4 hours of sleep, 1 to 3 hours of quiet wakefulness, then 4 more hours of sleep. Nobody told them to do it. Nobody suggested it. Their bodies simply returned to it, like some ancient program had been waiting inside them the whole time. Buried beneath centuries of artificial light, Wehr measured their hormone levels during the wakeful period and found something remarkable. The participants entered a state unlike normal wakefulness. Their brains produced elevated levels of prolactin, the same hormone linked to meditation and released after orgasm. They described feeling peaceful, reflective, almost meditative. It wasn't just a break in sleep. It was its own separate state of consciousness, one most modern humans have never experienced. So what destroyed it? The answer is simpler than you think: light. In the 1600s, cities started installing street lamps. Paris was one of the first under Louis XIV, who wanted to reduce crime. London followed. The night, once associated with danger and fear, slowly became easier to navigate. Then came cheaper candles, then gas lamps during the 1800s. Then, in 1879, Thomas Edison commercialized the electric light bulb, and within a single generation, the night humans had known for 300,000 years disappeared. And here's the part nobody talks about. The word curfew comes from the French couvre, F-O-U. It literally means cover fire. In medieval towns, a bell rang at night, signaling everyone to cover or extinguish their fires, not because of safety, but because night was supposed to stay dark. Night was when you slept. Night was when you were vulnerable. For most of history, being outside after dark looked suspicious. In many medieval European cities, walking at night without a lantern was literally illegal. Night belonged to criminals and the supernatural. People feared darkness in a way that's almost impossible for us to understand today. And then we conquered it. We flooded the darkness with light and called it progress. But here's what we lost. Modern humans are exposed to artificial light for an average of 7 to 8 hours after sunset. This light, especially blue light from screens, suppresses your body's production of melatonin, the hormone responsible for sleep. Your body doesn't know the difference between a light bulb and the sun. When light hits your eyes at 11 p.m., your brain interprets it as daytime. It delays melatonin release, fragments, and disrupts the circadian rhythm, shaped over millions of years. Researchers discovered that people who go camping for just 1 week with absolutely no artificial light reset their melatonin cycles by nearly 2 hours. Their bodies begin producing melatonin at sunset instead of hours later. That's all it takes for 300,000 years of programming to reassert itself. We didn't just change when we sleep. We erased an entire phase of human consciousness, that quiet, reflective state between first and second sleep. The same state Wehr's subjects described as peaceful and meditative barely exists anymore for most people. Instead, we call it insomnia and treat it like a disorder. But what if it isn't a disorder at all? What if waking up at 2 a.m. and lying there in darkness isn't your body malfunctioning? What if it's your body remembering what it was built to do? For 300,000 years, your ancestors spent their nights in a rhythm modern science is only beginning to understand. They gathered around fires and told stories that built civilizations. They slept in 2 phases with a quiet window of reflection in between. They lived in darkness so complete. The Milky Way wasn't something you drove to a national park to see. It was simply the sky. And every night when they woke between first and second sleep, they lay there in silence, thinking about their lives, their dreams, and the world waiting for them in the morning. We traded all of that for a light switch.